Greetings, loves, and welcome to Soul Search. Make sure you click that like button and share this video out, and make sure you subscribe if you haven't already subscribed and click that notification bell. All right, so we're going to go over a couple of things in the Micah Miller case. And there is a Tyler, not Kyler, on TikTok and on Facebook who has been posting a lot of information. Yes, she has opposition, but she also has a lot of people who have questions, similar questions, okay? And that's okay. Now, I have been having a hard time, although I follow her on both platforms, getting her information. I have to go out my way to look up her page when I'm following her. So her page is being suppressed. Family's lawyer last night. Now I'm gonna read the short version and show you guys body was released to JP on April 30th. From JP told the family that he wouldn't allow the family to see the body at the funeral home unless her parents first signed a certification of cremation. What innocent person behaves this way? Not only was it inhumane, but it was suspicious. JP's ex-wife has teamed up with Micah's family to bring his abuse to light. She told News Nation herself that she got out just in time. We now know that the redacted name of who was stalking Micah in the court documents was in fact JP Miller. A video was uncovered via body camera footage of when the tracker was found on Micah's car at East Coast Honda. The body camera footage was of JP harassing Micah. Robeson County's investigation officer told the family themselves that her remains were not tested for water in her lungs or gunpowder residue on her body. They did not do an autopsy or a toxicology report. Why? A couple of more things that have been circulating the internet that are food for thought. I mentioned a private plane a while back that is registered to Solid Rock that JP was bragging about in a sermon. This plane has been proven to exist as of yesterday via public record and was purchased on 4/23/2024. The tail number is N623SR. It is very obvious in the photos of Micah at the pawn shop counter that her necklace is not in one frame, but it is in another. We've also seen the photos circulating of JP wearing Micah's necklace. If her body wasn't released to him until April the 30th, how did he get it? Was it on her body when they found her? Whew. Okay. In her photos and videos going back quite a while, it seems that she never takes it off. Guys, make sure you hit that like button and leave a comment. No matter what you say, just be respectful so that this video can get some circulation.
I want to remind everyone that I was not a TikToker before this. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just had to Google how to even put voice over pictures. I'm not doing this for likes or clicks. I'm doing this because I'm an old friend of Micah's and I want justice for her. And I feel like I'm supposed to do this. So we all know about the corruption by now that has come out of Robeson County with Operation Tarnished Badge in the past and the current reputation that they still carry to this day. We've been hearing from locals or those who have experienced crime in that area or the loss of loved ones in that area. If you haven't been able to catch up, I urge you to do some research yourself and look at the corruption in that area. So, we all know that Robeson County stated in their timeline that JP Miller had an alibi in Charleston the day of her death, but did they do any cell phone pings? Did they check JP for residue? Was he even questioned? None of these things have been brought to light, and if they were done, have not been mentioned. But keep listening because it gets better. So, we've all heard by now that Micah paid car taxes on a vehicle that was registered to her, and only her, the day before her death. This is true and is on record right here. As you can see, they were past due from December of 2023, and we've also seen that it was common knowledge that Micah was struggling financially, which all checks out. This tag number was South Carolina tag number WUP747, with the VIN number ending in 7697. This was for a 2019 Honda Accord, not a black Civic. So, please tell me how this same tag number matching the Honda Accord was seen in Charlotte, North Carolina on May 1st of 2024 at 440 Griffith Road, which is a Wyndham hotel. A prior police report states that this car was taken away from Micah in March by JP. So who is currently driving this car? Another police report does state that Micah had a black Honda Civic after this, but why don't the tag numbers match? There is also a police report stating that JP tried to go to her apartment 3 days after her death to get items out of it. What were you trying to get out of there, and why isn't that being talked about? There's also a traffic camera photo right here of his truck at her apartment on March 30th, and we've seen the reports about her being stalked and harassed. So what was he doing there? Here's where the plot really thickens. So in the Robeson County report, they show us a black Honda Civic, South Carolina tag number 301AKH, that they want us to believe is Micah's car traveling towards Lumber River State Park. This tag is expired, does not match a Honda Civic, and is not registered in Micah's name. It is registered to someone else as a 2003 blue Chrysler Town & Country by an elderly woman who is probably deceased by now. However, in the same Robeson County report, they made sure to use the correct tag number for JP's truck, which is South Carolina tag number XIM865. But what they don't tell you is that this tag number was also picked up on a traffic camera on April 27th at exactly 12:30 p.m. on the Mark Clark Expressway in North Charleston, heading out of town, which you can see here. So he was heading out of Charleston at this time. The games were over by 12:25 p.m. that Saturday in North Charleston, which is where that highway runs through and exits to a main highway. The Robeson County report doesn't detail when and what time he was seen leaving Charleston, just that he was there that day and he was back in Myrtle Beach at 2:22 p.m. So if Micah did hurt herself, it is entirely possible that he could have made it around the time she called, especially if he was speeding. And he does have past speeding tickets and an outstanding careless vehicle operation on his record currently. There is no way that he could have made it to Myrtle Beach in 2 hours, but he absolutely could have made it to the state park by the time Micah called 911. Also, the Robeson County Sheriff's Department has edited their Facebook post a total of 9 times since it was originally posted and deleted the photo of her looking up at the camera at the pawn shop. There are also no timestamps on the photos of her at the counter, only from outside and the entryway. The Robeson County report said in their statement that the decision was based on surveillance footage, interviews, physical evidence, and the examination of the North Carolina Medical Examiner's Office. Not only do we not have body camera footage from their law enforcement or footage from the state park, which does have cameras no matter what people are saying, but what physical evidence are they referencing? In the Alex Murdaugh case, the body camera footage was released pretty quickly. The medical examiner that was called in also admitted that he wasn't on that case and wasn't on call that day. So why and how did he even come into the picture? Also, who has current possession of the black Honda Civic? Who does it belong to? If she was driving it, why was she driving it? Was it searched? Was anything else found in it except what they want us to see online, which was what appears to be a jacket and a grilled cheese sandwich in a Ziploc bag, and the case to the weapon? There are still a lot of unanswered questions, but this is what I have for now. Also, yes, I realize that I misspoke about JP being at her house on the 30th. It's actually the 20th, but I'm not fixing it. This takes entirely too long, and I have no idea how people out there do this every single day. Justice for Micah. Let's keep going.
So we're going to continue to read some of this. All right, we're talking about discrepancies in the Robeson County's report and the timeline of Micah, right? Here's the facts that are public record and can be easily pointed out or can be requested by the right people with the right access. Number one, Robeson County starts off by saying in their official report that her passing happened April 24th. Typos happen, but this is unprofessional. The person at the counter in the pawn shop, who is supposed to be Micah, does not have a tattoo on her right hand. I think this is the most telling observation about this entire thing. The Robeson County report originally states that she's driving a black Honda Accord. Now, it's supposed to be a Civic. Do mistakes happen? Yes. But they shouldn't in an official report. Now, the gas station picture does not have a clear plate reading there is a male leaning against his car. There is no gas being pumped. The Honda is angled towards him, and Google Maps indicates that this business is permanently closed. The Robeson County Facebook page is continuously making edits to their posts, uploading and reloading photos from their original one. Micah paid her car taxes the day before she passed. The state park has cameras, so why aren't we seeing or hearing about footages from there? Where are the pictures of the receipts showing that she bought the weapon that day? And I'd also like to add, where is ballistics and forensics concerning that weapon, residue, any type of matching on the bullets, and so forth. Now we're going to talk about the facts regarding J.P. Miller, his suspicious activity, and solid rock in general. Now, J.P. has 29 vehicles regarding the church's name. J.P. told his congregation in a sermon within the last couple of months that a private plane was being donated to the church. As of right now, the plane does not have a paper trail attached to it. Bernard Wilkinson Kennerson, a registered offender, is a current staff member of Solid Rock. Charles Randall, who released J.P. of his pastoral duties, was the dean of a Cathedral Bible College when the Wayne Miller scandal went down. Now, he was also their marriage counselor for some time. JP wasn't wearing his wedding ring on stage weeks prior to Micah's passing, but the Sunday after her passing, he was. Police reports from Myrtle Beach Police Department that I posted previously shows that Micah was being stalked and harassed. The affidavits released by Micah's brother and sister about the abuse she experienced given on May 2nd of 2024 align exactly with what the police reports say about the tracker on her car and selling his house to the church. The sale of his house to the church is also public record. JP has criminal history, as does his father and his eldest son, and other content creators have posted in detail about those things. Please find it. It's very scary, very eerie, very deep. Okay, there is a lot to be questioned about their foreign activities with other use from other countries. Their criminal activities with them that have been recorded, reported, charges have been filed, accusations have been made. They are public videos from these entities posted on these situations, and content creators have been digging up this information and providing substantial proof. Okay. JP was served with a no contact order before Micah's passing. Okay. In 2013, the church was bought, sold, and bought again. Now, anything that is missing can be submitted below as long as it's public record. We're sure there's some things that have been left out. Now, as I stated before, this is coming from Kyla Not Tyler. You can find her on TikTok. You can find her on Facebook. You can also post things here. Justice for Micah. Now, this is from a victim of JP's who has given permission for their story to be shared. JP Miller, I have sat with some of the most uncomfortable feelings, intrusive thoughts, and reliving a very traumatic situation I endured over the course of this week. I have fought within myself. I have cried. I've had feelings of remorse and questioned my own judgment. After waking up multiple times last night from nightmares and panic attacks, I feel like I need to share my story. I have sharp snippets in the past, publicity over social media and in my coaching business, but I've only shared specific details in private. That's part of what I have struggled with this week. I want to take you back to 1998, summer. I was 15 years old. The innocent vibrancy, love, kindness, compassion, and empathy I have had for everyone. I came into contact with what was relentless and maybe even complex. Hell, who am I kidding? That is still who I am today. All my life, I have always looked for the best in everyone, even when all the people in my life were adamant that there was no good to be found. One of my favorite questions to ask people is, do you believe that your best qualities can also be your biggest faults? Hey, bear with me, guys, because I don't know, but we're reading it, okay? My answer to you is this. For myself, is 100% yes. I love people genuinely, and I hate to see people hurting, whether at their own hand or not. I truly believe with my whole heart that if they experience agape love and the light we are all called to shine, that can help anyone get through anything. Unfortunately, I am recognizing that some people are just pure evil. Something I've been told, but a truth I never wanted to hold as a belief of my own. My grandpa had retired and moved to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, the place I call home to this day. And my grandparents are my entire heart and soul. I was privileged to spend my summer at the beach with them. What Indiana girl would want 3 months at the beach every year? Wouldn't want. Okay. A new group of friends in the gated community we live in, and amazing friends at the church we attended. I took correspondence classes through their Christian Academy and Bible College, as well as working at the summer camp, mentoring kids. I was active in the church during summer breaks and sang in the choir. Over the course of time I spent there, I gained some amazing friends and mentors. I ain't gonna lie, y'all gotta shorten these stories up and kind of get to the point. I've seen quite a few stories, but I mean, the narration and everything, this is a book at this point, okay? All right, we got a lot going on, y'all, even outside of this. So when we get to this, can we just kind of get to it? That's just my request. However, back to the book. Okay, I met incredible humans who I still call friends to this day. I can say, honestly, I wouldn't be the woman I am without these years in my life and the experiences I was blessed to have. The good, the bad, the ugly. Against the direction of my grandma, I did become friends with John Paul. And it's weird to me, side note, that these young ladies are in their teenage years becoming friends with someone who is a grown male. Okay, back to the book. He had a drawing energy, was fun to be around, talented, and even handsome. And that is subjective, because he is not handsome to me, child. Anywho, back to the book. I knew he was trouble and on probation. And he had a child at 17, but yeah, he ain't the only one. But I mean, this is a white pastor, I'm just saying. Okay, so I knew he had a 2-year-old son out of wedlock, which was frowned upon. And I knew that he had a dark side. But when I say dark side, I meant it was no secret. He was a pretty boy and a womanizer. And he dabbled in things that most do living a party life. I never dreamed he was a bad human, just finding his way through life the hard way. Oh, okay. Resenting his parents and doing anything he could to do a show blatant disrespect and rebellion. This fateful day in July, all right, let's get to it, okay? July 19th, 1998, I had started to go with my grandma to her Sunday school class in the academy building. I decided otherwise a few minutes later and headed to the church building where other classes were being held. But I wasn't sure where my Paul went. Now, you didn't go where you were supposed to go? So instead, I headed to the sanctuary where JP and one of the guitar players in the church band were on stage messing around. Oh my goodness. I know this isn't the one story I read about. Oh boy. Messing around with the instruments and catching up, and they drew me into the conversation. These are grown men, y'all. She's 15. At one point, I walked out of the stage door and I headed down the hall to the restroom. And when I came out, JP was walking into his dad's office. The dad, guys. Look up the dad. Okay? Do look up the dad. He called for me and was asking about my week and a mutual friend of ours and inquiring why she wasn't at church the last couple of weeks. Now, she was one of my dearest friends, actually, so it didn't raise any red flags for me. Plus, you're 15, so what red flags do you even know about? Now, plus, I was probably just too naive and trusting anyway, to be honest. And he nudged me over and closed the door, acting as if he was fumbling for something behind the door. Once the door was closed, he pinned me against the wall and proceeded to get extremely handsy and forceful. And I won't go into details of the entire experience, but I will tell you that there was definitely a moment of disassociation as he held me down, ignoring my pleas, and began to strip me of my virginity and innocence. Right there in church on a Sunday morning. And it wasn't just me. It wasn't just he and I. Peering from not far away was the man who played guitar every Sunday, watching with a grin on his face, letting me suffer under the torment of someone who I thought was a friend. You thought this grown man was a friend. His fault, not hers. The day I changed, that day I changed. That day I sat at K&W Cafe. I used to work at K&W, okay? I used to be a cook there. With my grandparents, scraping around a piece of coconut pie that I never ate. Yeah, that's K&W is a staple of the Carolinas. We used to go there every Sunday after church. And then as an adult, I worked there actually alongside my mother. She was the head cook. I was the vegetable cook. Okay, that was just an experience, but yeah. Ooh, okay, so they inquired several times, asking what was wrong, and I wouldn't say a word. I went home. I put on the baggiest pair of pants, an oversized sweatshirt, gathered the outfit I had worn to church that morning into a sack, got on the golf cart, and proceeded to the nearest bathhouse to throw the clothes in a dumpster. Went to the beach, and I just cried for what seemed like hours. I changed that day. I felt shame. I felt guilt. I felt tainted. I felt used. I felt unworthy. I felt dirty. I didn't speak about it for a long time, but my grades plummeted. I was severely depressed and mostly kept to myself. Within a few months, a couple of other family tragedies happened, which aided in my spiraling mental health. Yet, I felt it was just completely unnoticed. I was alone. I was scared, lost, destroyed, and prayed every night that I wouldn't wake up to face another day. I continued to spend my summers with my grandparents, and they were my safe space. The only time I was happy was when I was with them. I did end up telling a cousin and confidentiality that I was a year later. I told my parents and ruined the trust that I had with her. In turn, my grandparents knew, and the rest of the family as well. And as it usually goes, the reason why so many victims don't speak up is because no one believed me. Wow. And that hurt just as bad as the incident itself. Wow. Just, when did I lose their trust? What had I done to create this? Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I brought this upon myself. Did I ask for this? This exacerbated my declining mental health and also made me doubt myself. This was my fault. I did this. I was to blame. I spent years blaming myself for the actions of this man. And then I had a shift. I started studying psychology, learning, growing, and healing. And yet, the one thing I never let go of, no matter how hurt or depressed I was, I always believed the best in everyone. Fast forward years down the road, I got a friend request on Facebook from John Paul. My initial reaction was to vomit. I felt physically ill seeing his name on my screen, yet some part of me wanted to know where his life was. Surely he was miserable and alone and just leading a terrible life, right? So out of my curiosity, I added him and looked around. I was on my way to Myrtle Beach at the time to visit my grandparents and had posted about that. He messaged me and asked if we could get together and talk. I reluctantly agreed. Oh my gosh. Ooh, girl. We had a good conversation and he apologized for some pretty rotten things, but he said he didn't remember that specific situation the same way I did, claiming that he never would have been aggressive and forced me to have intercourse with him. And I sat there in tears, angry that he was pinning this on me, laughing at me the entire time. And you could just sense the negative energy and the dark aurora in him. The church was now his church and had a new name, but same building, same place, just new leadership. Seeing he's now a minister, I was hopeful that he had turned his life around and was really doing good for himself and others. He was divorced and remarried at the time. but he was still the same JP. And he was untouchable, a pastor with a massively growing congregation, but bragging about his affairs, owning a bar in town. When I say there's so many similarities in this situation, if I were to actually list them and read them to y'all, it would be revealing too much about my own personal self in life, past and present. But when I tell you guys, there is too many similarities for one, I'm just the whole pastor church. I literally know a guy here who could be JP, except for he's black. No, he's actually from the islands. Okay, I'm gonna say that much. When I tell you that guys like this are the worst, scary, creepy, no shame, no. This situation here is just so. Okay, I'm gonna continue. Okay, growing congregation, but bragging about his affairs, owning a bar in town, and all of the things that I was raised to believe was not anything a minister would do or condone. His lifestyle did not match his position. Just last summer, I saw him again. I even had a friend with me, and he didn't hesitate to immediately grab my ass and try to fondle me. I made excuses for him still, and we argued about his behavior, and he even used scripture against me, saying no man is without sin and temptation. Whew, y'all make sure y'all hit that like button. He said that God understands that. It's his word. This conversation went down a rabbit hole of infidelity, corn addiction, and etc. He even went on to make a Facebook post about pornography. Guys, we're not supposed to say the real word, so. And the Bible, and how a submissive wife aligned with Christ would understand and support her husband through his worldly struggles. Guys, there are actually videos of this guy in his sermons saying these things that she's saying that he said to his congregation. And listen, it's just so much. It's so much. It is so much. All right. Support the husband through the worldly struggles as more came to light from indecent phone calls and him sending nude photos and videos of himself to me. I ended up blocking him on all social media from being about to contact me. Okay, I guess being able to contact me. I'm not even bringing into this the portions of the conversation having to do with the ways a full-time pastor has to be able to afford a certain lifestyle. At this point, I went through another phase of doubting myself and questioning everything. I went through another several weeks of depression and reliving what happened and why in the world would I attempt to allow him back in my life. I wrote him off once again and had to go through healing all over again. It's been a year now since he's been associated with any parts of my life. Wow. I hope y'all don't think it's over, because it's not. Okay? So I got a text early this week that his wife had died, and I felt terrible for him. I unblocked his number, and I called and left 2 voicemails just to check in to make sure that the kids were okay. Now, for people who might say you had unblocked and you got a text now, we should know this by now, but some people may not. You can block numbers and still get the notifications. That is your option, that you got the message, although their message was not able to come to your inbox, and therefore you can choose whether or not you want to see it. Okay, and that's probably the setup that she had. Okay, all right, so she unblocked this number and called and left 2 voicemails just to check in to make sure the children were okay. I didn't have any more information at the time. However, a lot has come to light since, once again, I'm fighting demons. Why didn't I say more? Why didn't I try harder to share my story and turn him in when this happened 26 years ago? This is my fault. I should have tried harder to stop him and to shut him down. Okay, side note. We know this is not her fault. I mean, she was young, and then look what happened when she told her family. So just imagine if you or your family had said anything. I'm not saying that y'all should not have, well, the family should not have advocated for you, but you can rest assured it would have been a lot of pain and hurt for the family. Now, I'm still not saying you guys shouldn't have or didn't have the right to advocate further for him to be held accountable. I'm just saying a lot of victims don't come out because either they are not believed, or when they are, their advocates try to stand up and help the people accountable who committed the acts, they are protected and defended, and the victims usually go through the most trauma and their lives are messed up, and these people are still protected as they probably already were, and they still go on to have more victims, unfortunately, and this needs to stop. It needs to change. With all that being said, from my mouth to your ears, none of this was your fault. What happened was not definitely your fault. You were 15. These guys were older than you, and there were 2 people who, no matter how much older they were than you, had the responsibility of not harming you, and they chose to. Okay? And then you did, at the very least, and congratulations to you for doing so, told someone. Then you told someone else. So you went above and beyond with courage that a lot of people who are victims, and especially at the age you were, would not have been able to. And you saw the results from that, and you dealt with it the best way that you could. So trust me when I tell you, you did your part. You did your part. Others didn't do their part. So I'm not telling you to blame them, but understand that the blame does not fall upon you. Okay? So back to the story. She said I should have tried harder to stop him and to shut him down. I had this awful feeling of being responsible for Micah's death. I had a great healing conversation with my best friend about this family just yesterday when I shared what is going on with JP now. To which her response was, "It shows your character. You love hard and you always try to see the best in everyone. That doesn't make this your fault. At the end of the day, some people are just pure evil. And we were warned about the devil in sheepskin and false prophet throughout the Bible. John Paul is one. And unfortunately, as shocked as I am about the events that have taken place and the bullets in his wife's head," are you saying plural? Because from what we know, it was one. So that's another, but okay. I'm just saying, if it was one, it was happened to be a perfect shot, I guess. That cannot be associated with self-unaliving. All right, so she's saying that the bullets in her head cannot be associated with a self-unaliving, and his sermon, a matter of hours after learning of her passing, to the disgusting way that he brought up to the conversation, and his persistence in having her cremated and not allowing the family to see her body. Yes, the red flag, as I stated before, for me in this entire sermon was not necessarily what a lot of people are focusing on, but the fact that just hours after even hearing about what happened, not even like really going down there and seeing her or none of that, he had already had the funeral date and time planned out. And then he went on this tirade about, she had these problems. She spoke about them already, and da 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 da. She needed medication. We couldn't get it to her. But for me, it was him having the funeral planned without a shadow of a doubt. And then after that, so many other things. I mean, so many other things. But in that sermon, that's just an automatic red flag. And I also like to point out before I continue is that normally when a spouse is harmed, they look at the spouse of that harmed person as the number one suspect. That is standard across the board. And again, in this situation, it is clear that that is not the case. And we like to know why. Why, especially with all of these discrepancies and all of these other, things that are coming up in his activities, past and present. And we're going to go ahead and include future, that are very, very suspicious. I'm talking very suspicious. There was a bare minimum investigation on him, if you want to call it an investigation, because I don't. She said, my heart hurts so badly for the family and friends of Micah, and for her life cut tragically short, and the hole that is left in the hearts of so many. I am sorry I didn't take more action. I am sorry I didn't fight harder. I am sorry I was afraid to share more and to go toe to toe and head to head and take action. And in this, before it got to the point of a 30-year-old woman who lost her life while trying to get away from this abuse's grip. Story matters. I can't stress enough to anyone. And anyone out there, your voice matters. Use it. You're not alone. Yes, in normal situations, it is important that the victims try to speak on what happened to them, not only for themselves, but just for other victims that could, not necessarily have the courage, or other victims that will eventually become victims. However, this woman at that young age especially did all that she could at that time. She literally had no power within her to do more than that. And over the years, it was a struggle enough to just deal with everything. And no matter how much older she got, the family that she trusted did not help her. So how could she even fathom that if she doubled back and tried again to hold him accountable, that anybody would support her? So please don't blame yourself. All right, so here is another post. It says, I know we've seen the videos of the Tik Tok Creator slandering Micah's name and making JP look innocent, and this person is very obviously working with JP or someone close to him. There is always a personal link in this, in every mysterious death case, and the only thing I can say is this, and this is from Kyla, not Tyler, by the way, guys. This is who I'm reading words. These are her words. This guy is definitely not helping the case, but hurting it instead. Don't click, don't engage, don't comment. Just let JP dig his hole deeper. Now, I'm going to disagree with that because I have clicked and I did watch a couple of his videos, and I may watch more because I'm not going to just do one side. That's just not me. And I wouldn't recommend it for anybody else. I know that that can be tough, and I don't think it necessarily applies in all situations, or it can. It's up to you. At the end of the day, it's your brain. But for me, when things are so mysterious, and we, at the end of the day, you know, we're trying to, figure out what could have taken place and what could have not taken place. All the information is just, it's a lot going on. So in my opinion, if one side is going to say don't listen to the other side, to me, that doesn't make any sense, because you got to have both sides to put together to be able to sift through and determine for yourself what you believe. And that's just my standing on it. Okay. So after that, she says there are still a lot of holes in the story regarding the 911 call. Okay. Regarding what time and where it was placed. We're still working on laying all of that out, and I encourage you to believe everything you hear and see on social media. I mean, don't believe everything you hear and see on social media. Just because people say they saw, say they heard, or say they talked to Micah, that doesn't mean they really did. Now, I'm going to have to agree with that for sure, because there is a lot being reported. Now, that I have already shown and spoken about the discrepancies, not just myself, of course, but we've talked about the discrepancies from the actual police investigating this case. There are too many to be ignored, and you can't be this unprofessional. And I know that we're talking about Operation Tarnish Badge as well. And a lot of people say, well, that was a different case, different situation a long time ago. But I'm here to tell you, as someone who was even, again, living there at that time, I can tell you just simply this: with that much corruption, it's not something that you just sweep under the rug and can say that it can have no bearing on any other case. That is absolutely false. If you have a corrupt system, you have a corrupt operation, you have a corrupt city and town, then you should very well know that corruption is what corruption is. Okay, that's just a no-brainer. But at the end of the day, there are too many discrepancies and too many things that have not been produced that would normally be produced in such an investigation. Okay, way too many. And a lot of the information that they have provided as evidence, well, I can't necessarily say that I count it as evidence, because of the things that we've seen that have been incorrect. All right, the license plates, the cars, and more. That's enough for us to question anything else that has been produced. Now, producing things without the actual factual backings of it, like a picture, and say, oh, this person was here at this date and time, and they did this, and this is how we're tracking the timeline of this investigation. Yet you don't post proof that this was the actual date and time that that person was there. Then when we can clearly see things that make us question the validity of the actual so-called evidence that you've posted, let's say with a picture of Micah being inside of the gun shop, how we have not gotten enough proof that she was there at the date and time that they have said. Okay, they're only posting pictures and their words. That's not enough. Then when we look at the picture and there are things to question, like, is that even really Micah? Yes, that is a long stretch, but we're in 2024, so cut it out. It's not. If she's wearing something in one frame, not wearing something in another frame, that is a problem. Okay, say for instance, people have pointed out that Micah's wearing a necklace here, but here she's not wearing a necklace. When you're buying a gun, why would you take off your necklace? Okay, Micah's wearing a tattoo in normal life, but in these pictures, she's not wearing that tattoo. what happened to the tattoo? Okay, so we can go on and on and on and on, but there has also not been thorough investigations done on this brother here, JP, the pastor, the husband. All right, this guy that we're hearing all these horrible things about. And this video here doesn't even touch the surface. Okay, I'm sure y'all have heard worse from other content creators, and this isn't just made up stuff. People are coming forward with their testimonies and experiences. Now we're getting hearsay from these cops. That's all we got is hearsay, and the evidences that they're stating have already been proven to be non-factual. They're constantly changing their posts and their report, and that's kind of silly. So yeah, we have a right to question and demand. Then when you look at the father and his story and all their sick little things concerning these children in Africa, Pakistan, and all of that, we need people beyond actually Robeson County to be looking into and investigating this case. I can go on and on and on and on. All right, but I'd rather just play Too Short song and just let him talk about it. Okay, you must have superpowers because I ain't got them. I'm going to continue to read this. So it says, there are still a lot of holes in the story regarding the 911 call. Where and what time was it placed? We are still working on laying all of that out. I encourage you to not believe everything you hear and see on social media just because people say, I saw, I heard, I talked to Micah that day. We don't have no proof of this stuff, y'all. Who are these people? Where did they come from? Have they been investigated to the point to where we can actually say for 100% certainty that they were actually there and this happened? As much as can be proven, it needs to be proved in order for us to believe it. The guy who claimed he found her, we don't believe that story either. There's discrepancies in that story, and we don't believe that she did this. That's just as simple as you can say it. Now, what actually happened? Of course, that's what everybody is trying to figure out. What's supposed to be revealed from all this? Well, a lot has been revealed so far, and there's more. What is supposed to be done from all of this? Oh, are you serious? A whole lot. Some people need to go down, but also operations that are taking place that are immoral, illegal, and crimes against others need to be stopped, and they especially need to be stopped by being done by people who have all this power and so-called respect in the communities. And I will say this to all of Solid Rock churches, goers, supporters, your praise team, your worship team, or your whoever y'all are, all of you are no good. Yes. Unless you have denounced this entire operation and you are standing with and helping in this investigation, you are no good. And you can go down with the ship. That's cool. But what you cannot do is all the dirty things that you have been doing and you have been supporting. Because there's no way you guys are going to tell me that you didn't know about your dirty little church members. The same way this young lady had a situation happen to her, and she told her parents. They didn't believe her. They didn't do nothing about it. I know there's other young ones that have come forth and y'all didn't do nothing about it. Y'all listen to this dude every Sunday. So far, every single sermon I have heard posted by others from him have been just sick, full of him telling on himself. So there is no way you're gonna sit up here and tell me you don't know what you're a part of and what you're supporting. And the way that they teach and all that stuff, man, listen, a lot of us know all about that. We done seen it, we done heard it, we came up in it, and we understand the way y'all look down on women, the way y'all think that women are here for you to just do what you want to do. And from what we see from this situation, y'all feel the same way about boys. But you supposed to be about God. You for God. You serve God. You worship God. You of God. No, you evil. and you using religion for your sick pleasures, and it's just real sad. So she said, I've also come to social media presence completely unintentionally, but I have posted facts and evidences. And I doubt that these other people are working with a private investigator like I am. We are also not making any money off her case and assisting in the Francois family pro bono. So there are also tons of professional photo editors and photographers analyzing the timestamps and screen grabs of what Robeson County wants us to believe is evidence of the time and events. Listen. And some of us don't even really say nothing publicly, but we exchange stuff behind the scenes. Some of us, there's people, you don't know what they're capable of. You don't know what they're good at. You don't know what their expertise are. And you don't know who I was working on this. But to come your raggedy country bumpkin, lumbee, faking ass on here, thinking that you're going to convince somebody that this jerk is, what is it the other guy's trying to say? He's the victim, actually, and he was the only one trying to save Micah. Listen, I'm not gonna sit up here and tell y'all not to listen to that dude, whatever his name is on TikTok. I ain't gonna tell y'all not to sit up here and listen to him. But first of all, bro, you got something against you. I'm gonna tell you what it is. You a whole dude, and that's just me saying this. You're a whole dude. So we've seen a lot concerning dudes and dudes taking up for dudes with their dirty deeds that, you could be just doing that while you acting like you're removed from the situation. Yep. Whatever. We hear you. We hear you. I hear you. I'm not going to be the one to say I'm not going to listen, but I don't got time to sit here and listen to everything that you're saying, but your hard work is going to pay off to some degree, because you have a lot of people that are in your comment section and they like, yeah, he's listening to him and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know why people are acting like this girl had problems. She had her screws loose. First of all, we know that y'all already starting out with the one up because you've been able to prove a lot of stuff. I'm going to point out one thing for y'all that just to me is logic. And then two, if you've already investigated a lot of cases before, you got a one up on it. If you've even been through this situation yourself before, you got another one up on it. And I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm gonna point out something. In one of his videos, this guy talks about Mica was following the pastor and she was stalking him. I guess he's saying this happened around in March, and I think she was in her other car. Cause see, the car situation, oh boy, we already showed you in this video, right? It's some BS going on with that. All right. But he pointed out that the guy was supposed to be at the gas station, I guess getting gas or whatever. And she was sitting parked off to the side in clear view right there. Same parking lot. Gas stations aren't but so big. And he is filming her. And the guy who's narrating the video gives us this scenario. He says that Micah is sitting in her car and the pastor is filming Micah because Micah is sitting over there following him, filming him. So what he is saying is that in her reports, she has claimed that he had been tracking her, which yes, there was a track on her car, and that he had been monitoring her and stalking her. But he's saying that that video that he showed is proof that Micah has been stalking and following the pastor instead. And she's over there filming and taking pictures. Now, I'm going to tell you why that shit don't fly with me. Sir, you can post that video and put whatever spin on it that you want to, or JP told you to. Whichever one, or put the two together. I don't care. But I'm going to tell you one thing that I understand here. I understand that they could have been having a joint adventure. They could have both been going somewhere, and he could have said, I need to stop, get some gas. I need to stop, go in the store, whichever one you want to pick. He could have also came out and started filming her and then said later on, if I need to, or whenever my plan, whatever, whichever one you want to pick, I can use this to say, look, she was following and stalking me. But you cannot prove to me that she was sitting in that car recording him, because it doesn't show that. It does not show that. It's just a film that she is sitting there in her car. So why would she, if she's trying to be Pink Panther, she ain't doing a good job, because she's sitting right there in his face. That tells me that likely they were on a joint venture together, and she was sitting there waiting for him to make his stop at the store. That's just the way I'm looking at it. So that's not hardcore. Why you going off in your video and everything thinking you're doing something? You really ain't doing nothing in my book. It's not that easy for me. You're going to have to try again. You got to come quicker than that, okay? You got to come quicker than that, harder than that, and all that shit. All right? So it says there are tons of professional. Okay, so we read that. All right. We all seen the cease and desist warning from JP's lawyer. Now, if this is real, he can't sue an army. And I encourage you to research and remember your rights. Freedom of speech exists. Oh, he's supposed to have a cease and desist by, especially when it comes to things that are public record. So she goes further to say that I also want to remind people that the more people who come forward with evidence, proof, and stories of abuse, the better. And if you are willing to share your story about any kind of abuse, and you have experience from the Miller family or their associates, okay, that is not Micah's family, that is JP's family. Miller, that's his name. So this can be done completely anonymously at no_longer_silenced at yahoo.com. Please get this right, because you already know how this works. All right. You know somebody going to copy that email and try to intercept. Or, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. It's just keep pushing, keep talking, keep sharing. And every day we are one step closer. Again, that email address is no_longer_silenced at yahoo.com. See, people still do use Yahoo. See you in the next video. Don't forget to like and don't forget to share.